I'm a woman.
I forgot that you're a woman. How could I? You're always yapping. What do you mean I don't treat you like a woman? I treat you like a woman. I let you sew, I let you cook, I let you wash the windows, I let you clean up.
Hollywood keeps many secrets, but some stories eventually find their way to the surface. For decades, Audrey Meadows kept quiet about what it was really like working with Jackie Gleason on The Honeymooners. When she finally spoke up at age 73, her words sent quiet shockwaves through the entertainment world. To millions of viewers, Audrey and Jackie seemed like the perfect comedy team. She played Alice Kramden, the smart and patient wife to Jackie's loud and explosive Ralph Kramden. Their on-screen chemistry looked so natural that audiences believed they must have been close friends in real life. But the truth was far more complicated and much less pleasant than anyone imagined. The beginning of a difficult partnership. When Audrey first tried out for The Honeymooners, Jackie Gleason rejected her immediately. He thought she looked too elegant and refined to play a working-class housewife. Audrey had to get a photographer to take pictures of her in cheap clothes with messy hair and no makeup before Jackie would even consider her for the role. This should have been a warning sign of what was to come. From the very start, it was clear that this would be Jackie's show, run according to his rules. He controlled everything: the writing, the directing, and the overall tone of the production. No line could be changed without his approval. Cast members often joked that working with Jackie was like entering a kingdom where only his voice mattered. Audrey was smart enough to understand the politics of the situation. She had to be funny and strong in her performance, but never so strong that she overshadowed Jackie or challenged his authority. She walked a very fine line every single day, knowing that one wrong move could cause serious problems. The reality behind the laughs. What made their performances so memorable was actually the real tension that existed between them. Ray had trained as a dramatic actress and had excellent timing and quiet strength that contrasted perfectly with Jackie's loud, over-the-top style. When she delivered those sharp comebacks to Ralph's outbursts, she was drawing from real frustration she felt in her daily life. Many people assumed Audrey and Jackie were close friends when the cameras weren't rolling, but this couldn't have been further from the truth. In reality, they barely spoke to each other unless it was about work. There were no friendly dinners together, no shared laughs once filming ended for the day. The emotional strain of maintaining this professional relationship began to wear on Audrey over time. She once told a friend, "People think we had chemistry because we liked each other. It worked because we didn't." What audiences saw on television was a carefully created illusion that hid the tension simmering just below the surface. As The Honeymooners became more and more popular, this illusion became increasingly difficult for Audrey to maintain. Working in fear. While audiences at home laughed at Ralph Kramden's dramatic outbursts and wild gestures, the people working behind the scenes weren't laughing at all. Jackie Gleason's temper was legendary throughout the industry, and not in a good way. The same intense energy that made his performances so compelling also created a work environment filled with anxiety and unpredictability. Jackie demanded complete control over every aspect of the production. He didn't believe in doing many rehearsals, which meant scenes were often filmed in just one take, regardless of mistakes. If someone forgot their lines or missed their cue, Jackie's reaction could be explosive. According to several cast and crew members, he could lash out without any warning, and when he did, the entire set would fall silent. One crew member described the atmosphere years later. You could feel it in the air. The minute Jackie walked in, everyone would stiffen up. You just never knew what mood he would be in. This fear affected everyone. Directors became overly cautious. Writers were afraid to make suggestions. And actors like Audrey had to constantly watch Jackie's moods and adjust their behavior accordingly. Even small disagreements could turn into shouting matches. A casual suggestion might be met with open hostility. Audrey handled these situations as gracefully as possible, always staying professional, patient, and prepared for anything. But she wasn't immune to Jackie's anger either. There were days when he would refuse to look at her between scenes. Other days, he would criticize her performance in front of the entire cast, only to act like nothing had happened the next day. It was an emotional roller coaster that left Audrey feeling like she was constantly walking on eggshells. The silent burden. To the public, Audrey Meadows appeared unshakable. Her character Alice was smart, composed, and always had the perfect comeback ready. In real life, Audrey played a similar role, but the stakes were much higher. She carried a burden that very few people knew about. Working with Jackie Gleason was emotionally draining, but Audrey never let it show publicly. Not in interviews, not at public events, and not even when reporters pressed her for behind-the-scenes gossip. She kept the truth locked away behind her professional exterior. This wasn't just about protecting herself. Audrey understood that the Honeymooners meant something important to people. The show gave working-class families something to laugh about at the end of long, difficult days. It was relatable, funny, and felt real to viewers. Audrey worried that revealing the truth might destroy the magic for millions of fans. So instead of speaking out, she protected the myth. She smiled in public, thanked Jackie in speeches, and kept her deeper feelings completely private. But behind closed doors, the emotional cost weighed, mounting steadily. According to friends and family members, Audrey often confided in them about how difficult the work environment really was. She talked about Jackie's unpredictable moods, the constant stress of never knowing how each day would go, and the deep loneliness that came from having to pretend everything was fine when it wasn't. There were moments when Audrey considered quitting the show, but walking away from a national hit wasn't simple. CBS executives knew how valuable she was and pressured her to stay, reminding her that the chemistry between her and Jackie was incredibly rare and valuable. Why she stayed silent. Audrey's decision to keep quiet wasn't because she was weak. It was a strategic choice based on the reality of her situation. She understood the time period she was living in. During the 1950s, actresses who spoke out about problems were often labeled as difficult, and their careers would quickly come to an end. Audrey was determined not to let that happen to her. So she endured the situation, adapted to it, and played her part both on camera and off. The emotional weight of those years never completely left her, even long after The Honeymooners ended. She threw herself into other projects, often choosing roles where she had more creative input and a more stable working environment. But even decades later, friends said she still carried the scars from her time working with Jackie Gleason. One close friend revealed that Audrey would sometimes go quiet when Jackie's name came up in conversation, her face tightening slightly as if she was remembering something she had worked hard to forget. She remained loyal to the show and its legacy throughout her life, but that loyalty came at a significant personal cost. As time went on, she began to question whether keeping those secrets had been the right choice, after all. Breaking the silence. It took a lifetime of reflection before Audrey Meadows finally decided to share what had been weighing on her for decades. Audrey never pretended Jackie lacked talent. She often called him one of the most naturally gifted performers she had ever worked with, but she also said that his brilliance came at a steep cost for everyone around him. He could make her laugh with a perfectly timed line, then berate her privately hours later over a minor disagreement. A complex legacy. When Jackie Gleason passed away in 1987, tributes poured in from across the country. He was remembered as a pioneer, a one-of-a-kind talent, and a man whose timing and presence helped shape television comedy itself. But for Audrey Meadows, his passing stirred up something far more personal and complicated. She attended his funeral quietly and respectfully. There were no grand statements or headlines about her appearance, just a private farewell to a man who had once been at the center of her professional world. In later conversations with close friends, Audrey admitted that saying goodbye brought her a strange sense of peace. She said, "I forgave him, but I never forgot." That single sentence captured everything she had never said out loud during all those years. Forgiveness didn't erase the hurt she had experienced, and memory didn't soften the difficult past they had shared. But in her later years, Audrey chose reflection over resentment. She never tried to rewrite history or pretend things had been different than they were. Instead, she sought to understand her experience and put it in perspective. Professionally, she recognized that The Honeymooners had given her a permanent place in television history. It opened doors for her and gave her lasting fame. But personally, the experience had left scars that even time couldn't completely heal. Speaking truth to power. By the time Audrey began speaking more freely in her 70s, the world had changed significantly. People were finally becoming willing to listen to these experiences of women who had stayed silent for too long. Her voice joined a growing chorus of performers, writers, and creators who had endured similar challenges during a time when speaking up came with severe consequences. Audrey Meadows spent much of her life holding the weight of someone else's legacy. She helped build it, protect it, and perform within it. When she finally told the truth, it wasn't to tear that legacy down. It was to reclaim her own voice within the larger story. What she revealed about Jackie Gleason wasn't meant to shock or scandalize anyone. Instead, she wanted to balance the record, because for decades, only one version of the story had been told, and hers hadn't been part of it. She showed the world that sometimes greatness on screen comes with a hidden cost, and that behind the laughs and applause, there can be bruises that no one ever sees. Her truth wasn't about getting revenge. It was about understanding, about finally letting go of the silence she had carried for so long. In the end, Audrey's decision to speak out was an act of quiet bravery. She didn't scream her truth. She whispered it after a lifetime of being told to stay quiet. In doing so, she reminded everyone that even the strongest performers can be pushed too far, that maintaining dignity doesn't require staying silent, and that honesty can arrive decades late and still matter deeply. Jackie Gleason will always be remembered as the Great One, and his genius was truly undeniable. But thanks to Audrey's courage in speaking up, we also remember that greatness isn't always kind, and brilliance doesn't excuse cruelty. She showed us that even when the spotlight fades, the human stories behind the fame continue to evolve, deepen, and breathe. These stories deserve to be heard in their full complexity. Audrey Meadows left behind more than just laughs and memorable lines. She left behind an important lesson: that silence isn't always golden, that telling the truth on your own terms is a form of liberation, and that sometimes the most powerful performances happen when the cameras are no longer rolling.